isn't there, a lot to get through coming out of that match yesterday. Gus, 7 sin bins. It made for entertaining viewing. There's no doubt about that. How did it come about, though, and should it have?
Yeah, I don't find it entertaining. Look, I've been saying for 10 years that the bunker was the thin end of a wedge that would end up destroying this game. And you get a reaction like we have to HIAs and concussion and the way we're treating those. And you get an oversensitive refereeing group and, how can I put it? There's obviously directions to the match review committee and to the bunker on the way they think this game should be officiated, and it results in the frustration and everything that we saw yesterday. I saw very, very few incidents out of that game that should warrant a sin bin. But from the time they sent Victor Radley off in the first 3 minutes with an absolutely innocuous event, the standard was set, and they decided that they would just forge on with it for the rest of the game to get that result, which to me is an embarrassment to our code. And our code has embarrassed us. Our code has been embarrassed a number of times over the last few seasons, but that was culminating to where we always feared it would get to. That was not a game of football. It was not a great advertisement for our game.
I'm glad you addressed that, because everyone's talking about what a great spectacle it was. You know what? The crowd was great and the atmosphere was great, but it wasn't a great game of footy. There were so many stoppages and players laying down. That's the part that's not good for the game, for the look of the game. But you know what? The game has done it to itself. I don't blame the players for doing it, because the players are out there. They're playing for keeps. They're playing to win. If you lay down and get a penalty, why wouldn't you? And that's where the game's gone. I keep maintaining, I've said it for years, if the referee and the 2 touch judges can't see nothing wrong with the tackle, play on, let the game flow, let it go. But I think players need to take some responsibility for the way that game went about to. Like their behaviour on the field wasn't up to NRL standard, I didn't think. And people are spraying the referees and getting stuck to the referees. I don't think the referee lost too much control, to be honest. What can he do when a player's laying down and the bunker gets involved? The bunker shouldn't get involved in general play. Let the referee take some control and take some onus of the game and control the game. It's like they're not controlling it anymore.
No, it's refereed from the bunker,
and that is so.
And that's the problem, because it was the bunker that sent Radley off early.
So you're saying, Gus,
and they set the standard.
And when it comes to once they make the first call, as you say, with Victor Radley, sin bin him.
Now they're locked in.
Then there's an unwritten edict out there, not only from what's happening in the bunker or with the referees, but also the players to be lying down, to be milking those penalties, to know that the bunker, in the meantime, is going to spill back and go through.
Latrell Mitchell made a farce of rugby league yesterday, right? And within his rights to do so. Because there are a couple of times he just refused to get up and play the ball. And he looked at the referee and he said, I know it's not a penalty, you know it's not a penalty, but let's see what the bunker thinks.
It's going to be a penalty.
And that's what he did. He made a farce of the game. There was no greater farce than what Valentine Holmes made of obstruction the other night at Shark Park. All right, this is when you get down to the big games and moments count, the players are playing with the rules and playing with the referees. And that's what Latrell Mitchell did. Twice he stood there and he just stopped. 42,000 fans, 3 million watching on TV. I don't care. What are you going to do, Mr. Referee? I know you know it's not a penalty. I know it's not a penalty. We'll see what old mate says.
And the rules allow it. And
that's what the rules allow.
And they encourage it, because the players know that if the referee's making a call in the heat of the battle, it's discretion. As soon as you go upstairs, it's black and white. It hits the head and it's all over. It's going to be charged.
What would usually happen with a referee in big games? I'm going back, and people say, oh, you want it like it was in the past. No, I don't. I don't want it like it was in the past at all. Back when I played, it was a violent, vicious, cruel game. A lot of that's been taken out of it. But these incidental hits with the heads and different things that have happened during the course of the game are a new phenomenon in our game, because our absolute fear of concussion on unfounded medical advice on concussion. But we're waiting this tsunami of litigation, which I've been reading about for 10 years. The tsunami of litigation hasn't arrived yet. I assume it's still coming across the Pacific. But this is where our game has got to. This is why it happens. And in the big games, you'll know what a referee or a bunker will give a penalty for. Now, what happened in the older days, or even in years gone by with the great referees, was the first 15, 20 minutes of the game was pretty willing. But then it got to a point where he pulled them in, they pulled the two captains in and said, all right, the next bloke sits down, get back to football, and it gets on with it. The players know, they've got their frustrations out, they've got their competitiveness out, and they get back and play football. The Roosters should be embarrassed for the way the game unfolded for them yesterday, because never at any time were their brains switched on to playing football. It was all about retaliating, and retaliating first. And they let a great opportunity go by. They had South Sydney down to 11 men twice in that game and stuffed up both periods.
Well, South Sydney scored a try, I think, when they were down to 12 at one stage. And you're right, whenever there was any sort of even look like Nick. You'd have players running in from left, right and centre, pushing and shoving. And that's a worse look for the game than a couple of blokes having a little punch-up. But
Gal, you played with some hotheads. Like, we love Jared and the passion, and this was a brilliant shot too by our cameraman.
Yeah, that was a good shot.
Cam Murray. But as Gus says, this is an elimination final, and in these moments, he and Victor, we know they go over the line. They're passionate. It's what the fans love about them. But did they go too far yesterday, 100%. Considering what was at stake?
That's what I said at the start of when we started talking about it. I think the players need to take some responsibility for what happened on the field. The players are the ones doing these high shots or head slamming or running from everywhere.
But, Gal, most of these blokes that got sin bin didn't even get charged.
No, that's what I just done radio.
So why were they being sin bin anyway? Why are we sin binning people for grade 1 offences?
I agree, and that's why I say if the referee or the touch judge don't see anything wrong with the tackle, the game should flow. Let the game play on.
But haven't we also asked in the past that perhaps maybe penalise them on the field so they don't have to take time off the field post that match and do it in the heat of the moment? Here's the situation as it stands. Tom Burgess came out with 2 charges, obviously of most interest from a Rabbitohs perspective. If he takes that early guilty plea, he'll be hoping they get to the grand final.
But the Tom Burgess ones in particular, he didn't get sent to the sin bin for the hit on Tedesco, which ended his game.
And that was probably the worst.
And the one he got sent to the sin bin for should never have been a sin bin offence anyway. He got sin bin either because they thought they'd missed him the previous time, and then this is the one coming in, swinging arm over the top. All right. Now, I don't think high tackles should be sin bin offences. They're either send off or you're penalised and you'll let the judiciary handle it. But this one has meant that the best player on the ground has left the field and doesn't return for the rest of the game. If the standard had been set for send-offs or sin bins, that one should have been a sin bin. All right? If Victor Radley got sent to the sin bin for nothing and is not even on the match review, it's the most innocuous thing you've ever seen, then why wasn't Thomas Bird sent for that one? But then why was he sent for the one on Matt Lodge, which has since been ruled as a fine? And why is it a fine? Because they can't be seen not to be doing something about it. So the whole thing is farcical.
And Victor Radley was charged twice.
The one on Lodge was flat out being the penalty, seriously. But the one on Tedesco being the best player in the field, I actually thought at the time, he's in trouble here. He may get sent off.
Yeah.
It wasn't even not even 10 in the sin bin, nothing, so they get him for the next one.
That's where I am. Now, with high tackles, it's either a send-off or penalty, get back in your position, let's play on and go on. How many of those players that got hit with high shots or near high shots yesterday ended up in the head bin? Very few of them.
Tedesco was the only one.
Yeah,
the rest of them were because the players running at high speed, their legs get taken from them and it's a clip around the neck.
You know why? Because old mate, who was nervous in the bunker and getting ready for his game to make his appearance, couldn't wait 3 minutes and gets Victor Radley for that nonsense on the ground in the first 3 minutes. In the first 3 minutes of a semi-final between the Roosters and the Rabbitohs in a knockout semi-final, oh horror, oh shock. 2 players are wrestling on the ground in the first 3 minutes. Get up, play on, come on, let's go.
That we're hearing.
Why have we got to send one of them to the sin bin? Whoever made the decision in the bunker that he had to be sin binned should be sacked and never put back in the bunker again. End of story.
So that issue that you raised at the start around players laying down, we heard all the problems. What's the solution to it? No more bunker interfering? Just go with whatever the referees call it.
I think so. I think the bunkers should be only bought for try scoring opportunities. The referee needs to take control of the game. Give the referee control of the game.
So you're not going to complain then when we get a guy swinging arm, knock someone out, the referee's missed it.
The match review committee gets him anyway.
So you're happy for on-field play?
Yes, and we've got to accept it. We've got to accept the referees are human beings. They may make mistakes.
This is rugby league. We don't accept things in rugby league.
Well, we have to because you know what? Are we going to want this? Do we want this?
No, it was embarrassing on the weekend. And I asked Trent Robinson about it after the game. It was embarrassing.
Origin, one of the biggest rivalries in Australian sport, and we saw absolute rot yesterday on the field. It wasn't good rugby league. I'm with Gus. It wasn't good footy played at all.
Yeah, and like I said on this show a few weeks ago, I said the Storm won't get to the top 4 and they'll be bundled out of the finals early. They were. And I also said the Roosters won't be allowed to keep up that brutality and that physical nature of football. Either injuries will get them or the referees will get them. And that's what happened yesterday. All right, and they were bundled out. And I could see it coming. Everyone could see it coming. The solution, there is no solution. The genie's out of the bottle. I said this 10 years ago when they introduced bunkers and trying to appeal on a legal play and reviewing every tackle in the game. It's absolutely ridiculous that our game is refereed from a bunker in Redfern. You know, the bloke out on the field should be solely controlling for that. And if he misses something, well, then we can work out why he did. But it's wrong, and it's led it to this. It's at the end of the day, this game is too tough for doctors, too tough for lawyers, too tough for media, and too tough for referees and bunker. And that's where we're getting to now. And I don't know, we sat Andrew Abdul here the other night, and you're all covered for him, and I said, what do you want the game to look like? If that's a penalty and if that's a send-off with Dale Finucane, what do you want the game to look like? And he couldn't answer it. They don't know what the game would look like. All they know is they don't want to be held responsible if someone gets knocked out. That's all they want, which is going to happen in rugby league. That's the nature of our game. This is the professional code. There are professionals that play this. They understand the risks, all right? It's not for everyone. But that's the farcical situation we end up with yesterday. The solution, there is no solution, because they have walked down this path through the Greenberg and Tony Archer years. They've walked down this pathway with letting the bunker be the be-all and end-all of everything, and that's where it's got our game to. All right? And no one has been able to ravel it back. And you can't. Once you've got it out there, you can't regress. So, good luck with the future. That's where it's going to go.